What's up guys, my name is Jack, and this is the first episode of Nostalgia Unknown. This is a series I started to see if classic games are really as good as people say they are, but I've never played these games before, so I'm not looking through the nostalgia glasses. If you want to learn more about the series, there's a link on screen to my intro video talking more about the series, but with that, I think we should just get started. Super Mario Bros. Released for the NES in America in 1985, Super Mario Bros. Has gone on to be one of the best-selling games ever, and one of the most influential games ever as well, arguably popularizing the platforming genre of video games. This game also has the high honor by some as the game that saved the video gaming industry, which is most likely true as the NES came on the heels of the American video game market crash of the 1980s. But the real question is the game as good as everyone says it is? A game with such high sales and honors has to be a good game, right? Let's find out. Oh my god. That was legit. I legit just jumped in there. I can play video games, guys. Now, we need to start by taking a look at the controls, because in a platforming game, good controls are extremely important. Honestly, when I started playing, I was really struggling with getting used to the controls. In this game, you have two speeds, walking and running. However, when you jump while running, your airspeed is based on momentum. This is really weird to get used to if you are coming from any newer Mario games like I was, where extremely high amounts of air control are standard. This is because your air control is severely limited by this momentum-based speed. When you're in the air, you can basically only slow down in the direction you're moving, so jumping and moving in the opposite direction is out of the question. In a platformer, you want precision movement, and honestly, there were a lot of times when I felt like I had no control, especially in the air. Overall, I wasn't really impressed with the controls. I mean, it's hard to mess up platformer controls, and they work well enough after you're used to them, but for the pioneer of platformers, it isn't all that great. That being said, controls aren't everything, so let's talk about the game itself. Alright. The needle! Oh! Jumping up the blocks perfectly is so satisfying. Now what you just saw was an example of my favorite thing in this game. Sweet jumps and sick moves make you feel like a total badass, and they just make you feel like you really nailed this section. I had a few more notable instances of this happening as well. Oh god, style. Oh! Oh, I thought it was over. Oh, I thought it was over. Oh, I'm still down here. Crap, now I'm actually gonna need to move. Ooh, I'm a legend. Ooh, I'm a legend. Now, these moments are awesome and fun. However, you probably noticed that most of those clips, what was happening was unintentional. This is the one drawback to these moments. They're few and far between, and while you could argue that that makes them a novelty, it only happens the same way once or twice. In my opinion, it's way more exciting to do something like that when you know exactly what you did and you executed it perfectly. I've never done it before. It'd be kind of fun. Fun to try. Oh no! The bane of my existence! I hate these guys. Alright. They're both... Okay, I need to wait for them both to go down. So, the thing I dislike in this game the most are the Hammer Brothers. This is in some relation to having trouble with them in the other Mario games I've played, but this game was no exception. They throw their hammers in an extremely annoying arc, and they're often paired up in twos. Throughout the time I spent on this game, I never once got used to their patterns of behavior. Though I will admit, when I got to 8-3 and was greeted with a series of Hammer Brothers, while I was annoyed, it was kind of funny that they made me go through this gauntlet before getting to 8-4. Oh no, why? Why would you make me confront him like that? That's like me confronting my worst fear. On 8-3, why would you do this to me? God. Oh boy, you. Come on, you bastard. Oh my god, it's so hard to approach. I gotta move. Oh! Oh no, there's two! Oh my god, no, no, no. Yes! Oh my god, please stop! Oh. 5 lives, 8-4, boys, let's go! Now there is one other specific thing that I don't like that I want to talk about. It is a very specific thing, but I think it brings up a good point. I'll let this rage-induced clip introduce the issue. You just can't make it sometimes, because you have to run across the gap and jump. And you have to be so far back on that block. Oh my god. When I know what to do and the game denies me, that's bad design. That is a poorly designed jump. Now, that jump on 8-2 is the only thing in the whole game that I think is designed poorly, and I think that's saying a lot considering there's a jump on 8-1 that is 1 block wide. As I said in that clip, when you know what to do and how to set up the move, and the game basically decides, nah, you didn't have enough speed, that's just poor design. Now, let's talk about the things that affected the enjoyment of the game for me, positive or negative. I need to preface this section with the fact that I decided to play every level in this game. What I mean is that I wasn't allowed to use warp zones to go to a world I hadn't beaten. I bring this up because the constant restarting from game overs really affected my enjoyment of the game. I know this era of gaming was heavily influenced by arcade gaming, so restarting at the beginning was a standard at the time, but coming from newer games, it was rage-inducing. By the end of my time with the game, every time I game overed, I had to do 1-1, 1-2, 4-1, 4-2, and then World 8. This on its own wasn't frustrating, but if I died on my way back to World 8, that was when the rage really set in, since I just wanted another go at where I died. Though I suppose this leads into my next point. I did not give this game enough credit for being difficult. I associated Mario 1 with being the easy-peasy Mario game. I expected to finish it in 2 hours. It took me 7 hours of game time. This is especially true with World 8. It took me a really long time to get World 8 down, and even then I still had a lot of trouble with 8-4. In my first session, I made it to World 6. In my second session, I made it to World 8, specifically to 8-2. In my third session, I made it to 8-4, and I game overed so many times. In my fourth and final session, I spent the whole time trying to beat the game, since I'd made it to the last screen of 8-4 many times. So unless I'm awful, I'll give this game credit for being much harder than I heard or remember from what little I'd played before this. The last thing I want to talk about here is the Fire Flower. In this game, the Fire Flower is overpowered. You can pretty much zone out any enemies with it. This is especially useful against Hammer Brothers. The problem with this is that, at some point, I felt like the Fire Flower was necessary to make progress. I started to consider restarting levels just to make sure I had the Fire Flower at the end. I even ended up needing it to beat the last level. I don't really have a problem with this, but feeling the need to have it to beat the last level was a little frustrating. So overall, how does the game live up to its high praise and name? After that enjoyment section, it probably sounds like I really don't like the game. While I did find the game frustrating at times, I definitely don't hate it. At the same time, I definitely don't think it's the greatest platformer ever, which sometimes it feels like people think it is. And compared to some of the other Mario games I've played, I think it pales in comparison. While it's good and I think you should play it if you haven't, it's not something I'd go back to and play again in my free time because I thought it was that good. So this has been my look at Super Mario Bros. I'd love to hear your thoughts on the video in the comment section. If you want to join me on my live stream where I play through these games to review, you can find me at twitch.tv/losermanwins, and there's a link on screen for that as well. I think that's all for me. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys in the next episode.